You are listening to WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio out of Northport. Talk with John Rawlings. In case anybody's having a problem out there, I'm having internet problems. Doesn't that work out well for everybody that you have when you're trying to do a stream? And we're coming live actually from my house on the radio. So, John Rawlings, I hope you're having a ball. Actually is from C.A.R.E, the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. Hi.
Hi,
And
how are you?
yeah, and we have Sandra here. Sandra.
Hi.
Sandra. Hi.
It's Sandra, but either or is fine with me. So I'm a victim advocate here at C.A.R.E. Our main mission is to help victims of any crime, any violent crime in Charlotte County. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy though? When we're trying to do stuff and we're doing it, we're streaming this for anybody
Yeah.
that knows. And Sandra's down at C.A.R.E, and I'm here at my home, and we're streaming to the radio station and over. And we're okay right now. But in case we do have any glitches in that, we're on. I'm on Comcast Xfinity. I normally don't have an issue, but it seemed like because we're going live and I'm filling in for John, that's happening. Now, Sandra, uh, because you work for the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies, let's talk a little bit about you and introduce who you are and how long you've been with C.A.R.E.
All right. So I've been with C.A.R.E for almost 5 months now. My official title, I'm a sexual assault victim advocate, but I'm also prevention education for younger kids, just to teach them what healthy boundaries are, healthy dating, how to say no, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, just to kind of prevent kids from offending or becoming victims in the future. Just get them when they're young and let them know, teach them, and it helps a lot.
Well, and I think because you're younger, you could probably relate a lot better to probably the youth and the younger demographics to people when they are looking. Because if they talk to somebody older like me, I mean, they may not identify with me, and I may not identify with some of their age age opportunities or different things that they come across because things have changed a lot. So,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, my job before C.A.R.E, I was a juvenile detention officer, so I have worked with at-risk youth and mainly the females, males as well, but it was mainly females. A lot of them have been victims of sexual violence, and they go on to commit crimes later on. So I wanted to help. I thought intervention was the best form of stopping that, but now I see it's prevention through awareness, education, and just making sure the message comes across with kids. It's really important to pay attention to what kids are doing nowadays, how they're communicating with one another before something bad happens and we don't know how to take it from there, like habitual offenders at a juvenile detention center.
No, is that one of the things that in your experience, because you did start in the juvenile section, that it does start a lot of times at home?
Yes.
That, yes, and how it correlates and how to break that cycle of abuse.
Mhm.
And we learn from our parents, and if we were uh, disciplined in a different way as you are, because I come from the school that wooden spoons and ice waters and all that were done, but I wasn't abused. I was just disciplined that way.
Mhm.
But you see where there's a lot of different types of abuse, correct?
Yes, yes. A lot of kids are beaten by their parents. Sometimes their parents even call the police and lie, saying that their kid has been hitting them just so the police can come and take away the child and send them back to a detention center. It happens more often than not. A lot of times the girls are sexually victimized by relatives and their parents don't want to say anything. And then you kind of see how they react to you. You see the kid's personality. And when you meet the parent, it all makes sense. So it's very tough and it's very sad, but I think the main thing is to pay attention, especially if you're working in schools. Pay attention to your students because teachers come in contact with the kids most than anybody.
Do you think, and I know that we're kind of getting off topic here,
Mhm.
but we're talking about parenting. I I think that all parents should have a parenting class
Mhm.
on how to parent. Even myself, if I look back in that, because you learn from your parents, and it may not be the right tools, and
Mhm.
to learn how to cope. And a lot of times, if you're a young parent, you're growing up while that child's growing up, and you don't have a lot of the uh, maturity sometimes that it's needed with
Mhm.
that.
The patience, the fine line between like friend or authority figure, and then sometimes you might overcompensate and just be too strict, and then your kid is afraid of you. It's an extreme of anything is bad. It's to find a common ground, but I do agree with the parenting classes, just to keep up to date with technology the kids are using because kids are low key sneaky. Like they'll be using Facebook or the newest app like TikTok, Snapchat, anything and just to find out what has been working and what has not been working for other parents. And then maybe you can incorporate that style into your parenting just to make things easier on you, give you more guidance. Being a parent is very hard. Like I have to give parents leniency because it's hard. You can't really control what your kid does every day. Like you're not with them when they're in school. Like you don't know what types of friends they're making all the time. So it's hard.
I have a question for you, and it's actually a personal question on my end. As a parent, how do you recognize a sign that your child is being sexually abused by a relative?
Basically, hopefully you've had the talk with your child like when they were young or when they were able to comprehend what
But what if
sexual
the
abuse
child
is.
is 3 years old or
3 years
younger?
old. If just listen to your kid because a lot of times the kids will be afraid to be around the relative that is abusing them like that. Um, if the kid says anything remotely suspicious, like oh, Uncle so and so, he he's too nice, like he's always around me, I'm afraid of him, like just little things like that should be little indicators to kind of research further. Just listen to your kid, see, like your kid's reaction, when they're calm, when they're stressed, like to see how they react to certain individuals. If they're always afraid on edge and you don't understand why, that could be an inkling. Not always the case, but that's kind of a sign. And if your kid is acting hypersexual, towards inanimate towards objects. I'm sorry,
And
this is
that's
like very uncomfortable to say. It's weird for a kid to be doing that unless they've been exposed to it already by somebody else.
okay, okay, and that's something that I think a lot of parents aren't aware of.
Hmm.
What to watch for because you're so busy. A lot of parents are so busy working
Hmm.
that they're not paying attention. And sometimes you just don't pay attention. Like you want to spend quality time with that child,
Yeah,
and you just don't pay attention to some of that.
it's especially sad too because sexual violence affects children even worse than adults, just because children view any adult as almighty, all knowing. So naturally, children do trust adults. So when that trust has been broken, it spirals into them distrusting anybody after that, and just acting out more aggressively. Like they may become angry because they had no control of the situation. So that kind of takes away their locus of control in a sense.
How does it work for a child that becomes an adult that has never dealt with those issues? I know I'm getting really deep in here in the psychology, but I know we have some background there because as a parent, when you find out, and maybe you don't find out until you're an adult and that child's an adult. And you see that a lot happening, especially in the
Mhm.
sexual abuse of the with the priests and in the
Mhm.
churches and stuff. They don't want to tell, and then all of a sudden it starts coming out, and it's
Mhm.
affected their lives, having relationships with people. And what kind of advice would you give to an adult that finds out their adult child was abused as a child?
Well, we do have a support group now going on, and for that exact situation, 1 to 9 every Thursday for parents of kids who have been victimized, that happened recently or happened a while ago. With that being said, I do want people to be aware that the statute of limitations for that never runs out. So if you do want to go to court and sue, then you can. Like the statute of limitations
I
never
didn't
runs out.
know that. Yeah, that you
Mhm.
could go actually and take that person if they're
Mhm.
alive, to,
Mhm.
okay.
Because you never know, they
There's
might
no
have other
statute,
victims as well
yeah,
that
there's
need the
no
justice
statute of
and that might
limitation.
be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not aware of that there was no statute of
Mhm.
limitations on that. That's why they've been able to go back to a
I'm
lot
sorry?
of these people, correct?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Okay. I said that's why they've
Sorry.
been able to go back. They've been
Yeah.
able to go back and actually go after different people that, in fact, you see some of these uh, performers that
Mhm.
have, yeah, that they've gone after people that had sexually abused them in
Mhm.
that field too. Okay, well, enough with my hard questions about that. Let's talk about something a little bit lighter right now, and then we'll get back to the heavier subject.
Mhm.
But there, you have something coming up that actually benefits probably, would I like to say, a victim that has gone through abuse to help them to get back on their feet.
Yes. So May 17th, we are having the Paula E. Hess Scholarship Foundation Luncheon. So basically, anybody that wants to donate $50 or RSVP can join. If you want to donate any money, that scholarship goes directly to people who have received our services before. If they want to go back to school, receive any vocational training, just to help them empower themselves. Receiving an education is very important. It'll help them get a job, and helping them getting a job will help them become more independent. And the more independent they are and empowered, the less likely it'll be they'll be abused in the future, and it'll help them get away from their former abuser as well. And it's not just the survivors; it's anybody related to the survivors as well, such as children and parents and etc.
And it's going to be held next Wednesday, I think, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes, let me check
Tuesday.
my calendar and make sure
It's
that
next Tuesday, May
Tuesday. Yes,
17th at noon at the Isle Yacht Club in
Mhm.
Punta Gorda. And if you've never been to the Isle Yacht Club, it's very nice. And it's right off of Marion. You take it all the way almost to the Peace River or Wildlife. I mean, it's on the way going out there into PGI. Uh, are you expecting a sold out crowd here? You're hoping.
I'm not too certain. I can ask Linda and get back to you on that. But we do have a lot of people who have RSVP'd already. So I'm not. I
Right.
don't think it's sold out, but we do have a plentiful amount of people.
And that's one of the areas, if I were to be going out in public right now, that's one of the things that I would be going to, truthfully. It's one of the more, I feel like it's one of those things that the luncheon actually supports the scholarship fund to
Mhm.
help these victims being able to benefit
Mhm.
by getting
Mhm.
educated so they can move on with their lives.
Yeah, people really don't see like the benefit of what a good education can do. It really opens up more opportunities, more doors for these survivors, and it empowers them. Once they accomplish something like getting a degree or a certification or anything, it's very empowering, and it makes them feel good. To it'll domino effect. They'll keep doing good, and they'll keep accomplishing things in the future.
Well, one of the things that I've seen when people do go through this and go through are granted a scholarship and are able to help, yeah, get helped in that way, they give back. I've seen
Mhm.
that where they give back, and until you walk in their shoes, you don't know. And let's talk about that with a victim. when people, if somebody's being abused and they say, well, why don't they just leave them? That is one of the most dangerous things that
Mhm.
a person can do. And if you see the news or if you see what happens, a lot of the people are murdered by their
Mhm.
abuser.
Yes, physically it is very dangerous because you never know who is willing of killing like somebody that they're with, and also there's a cycle of violence when it comes to abusive relationships. The abuser will always, once they're violent with the victim, they kind of they love bomb them. They lull them to a false sense of security, and then later on it keeps going, and then tensions get high because you can tell that the abuser is mad. The victim knows the abuser so well, like knows what makes them tick, like when they're mad and then they're on edge, and then eventually it goes back to like the violence, the physical hitting or anything. So mentally, the victim is not in the place to actually leave because they don't know. They feel like it's their fault. Abusers will always find a way to blame the victim, and you can tell an abuser versus a victim by how they speak. An abuser, when you say, "Well, why did you do this?" Well, they made me do it. If they didn't do A, B, and C, I wouldn't have reacted this way. And the victim will always be like, "Well, maybe if I were better, maybe if I did things different, I wouldn't have had to deserve this." So you can kind of tell by the lingo there. And then also abusers like to isolate their victims. They neg at them, they gaslight them. So mentally the victims think that they're always the ones in the wrong and they can't really see the clear picture until it's either too late or somebody has helped them leave the situation and kind of given them a debriefing as to why what happened was wrong.
Sandra, have you seen, and I know that each case is different, but if, say, with my husband, and my husband is not an abuser, so I'm just using this as an example. If I was an abused person and with our children, do you see where the children are being abused too?
Um,
Or do you see where the one person is the victim, but it so affects the children because they think it's a norm or that's what they grow up?
mhm.
Because I
So
know that they react with violence.
yes, so there's also a history of victimization when it comes to kids who have grown up like that and just having that be their norm. They pick partners that kind of can give them what their parents had because that's all they're used to. So they can be victimized or they can even become the offenders because if a male sees their father abusing their mother, like males might think that it's okay, or even the other way around. If females see like their mother abusing the father, they might think it's okay just to behave in a certain way as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's
And,
really hard to break the cycle, but raising awareness and bringing knowledge to people is the first step.
and it's a bad habit, just like you're trying to break a habit, even with
Mhm.
eating or any kind of thing. Abuse is maybe a learned habit, a
Mhm.
learned cycle
Mhm.
that it's very hard for us that don't live in that cycle to really understand it.
Yeah.
However, if you've been around people, especially, do you find that alcohol and drug use really contributes a lot to that?
It worsens it by a lot, yes. Sometimes if the abuser is severely addicted to these substances, um, they'll be more angry with withdrawal, like they'll lash out at their partners, or even when they're drinking, it might make them angrier. And it's a whole thing. It really depends on the person as well. But yes, typically it does make it worse for many reasons.
It's such a difficult thing
It's a
out
there's
there. And because of rent now being so out of line, I mean, truthfully, I feel
Mhm.
so bad for people that have to rent and the stress of it. And I think, I don't know, are you seeing more abuse because of that? Because of the stress involved with having to have jobs to have this or not even being able to get a location to live?
Yes, abuse does occur from the stress, but mainly the financial stress is the victim stays with the abuser because they have nowhere else to go. They don't make enough money. A lot of times, the abuser will try to strip the victim of any independence. Like, you can't get a job, who's going to stay at the house? You have to stay at home. And the abuser gaslights them into believing that they have to stay at home. So they don't have a job. And then if they ever want to leave, they can't make ends meet. With that being said, we do have economic justice advisors here at CARE that look at each individual's case, and they find jobs for them, housing that may be affordable, just to help them be more independent and away from the abuser.
And that's one of the things too. We want people to know that Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies, it has resources.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about one of the other resources. If you're giving away things, getting rid of things, and instead of giving it to some of these other organizations, you have recycle stores.
Yes, we have a restore in Port Charlotte and in Englewood. If you want to donate anything that you don't use, like bedding, furniture, clothes, we are more than willing to take any donation.
And when you put, when somebody is with you, you help get them set up too
Mm-hmm.
when they leave the situation, because that's a security for them, and then to start all over, it's very difficult to
Mm-hmm.
do that, especially if you have a lot of children or have one child even
Mm-hmm.
with you. It's very difficult. Do you help the victims too with childcare?
With childcare, we can tell them where to go for childcare if they're working too much. We are trying to start a parenting class here at CARE. Nothing's set in stone yet, but that's been in the making. So we're going to help young mothers, pregnant mothers that come and want to receive our services. We're just going to teach them how just proper parenting techniques, because they might not know, they might have not seen that growing up. So just to cover all the bases of these types of situations.
And are you finding too, people with children, and a lot of these victims do have young children or they have children. Do you find that if they have the resources like that for childcare, that's one of their worries, is
Mm-hmm.
if they have a place for their child to be safe?
Yes.
Because if you're putting a child in childcare, how many times do we hear about somebody, the other parent or that trying to get that child, and they use them as a tool?
Yeah. A lot of abusers will use the children as leverage as to keep the victim around. And then also with childcare, going to a daycare or anything is very expensive. It does add up. And then when you're a young mom trying to work, make ends meet, pay rent, it is very difficult for them to see all their options when it comes to that.
Yeah, I would be concerned in today's world, because I've always been a person that worked all the time, and
Yeah.
I had three children, and having them, I was fortunate. I had relatives. I had relatives that helped me with the child care. But in today's world, you don't, a lot of people don't have parents around that do that, or if they do, their parents working still.
Yeah. Um, it's really difficult, especially in this day and age. So every person that wants to receive our services, we do kind of ask them questions. We probe a bit just to see which referrals will be most beneficial to them. So everything is on a case by case basis here. So
That when and I'm talking out of my mouth, I'm a mouth thinker. So when I'm talking about this, I'm thinking, what would be the obstacles if I'm being abused? I want to leave my abuser. I'm going to go into a safety net. And then what do I do with my children after that? Because I'm trying to protect them. I'm trying to protect myself. I'm scared to death. And do you relocate people to different areas,
um,
or
yes,
give them the services to
we
be able?
can. If the situation is dire, like we really do feel like they're going to die if they stay there any longer. We can provide transportation as a bus, maybe a plane ticket. I'm not too certain. I know our shelter manager does take care of that, and that is an option if the victim has relatives in a different state. It just depends. But that has been something that we have done before.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to bring up your website on the page here so we can talk about different things that are happening at CARE. And let me see if um, let's see here for resources, how to help. This is one of the things. Let's talk about, if you're a friend or a family member and you see that you think that a family member is being abused, or you see it, and how do you talk to them?
Be very understanding. Don't sound judgmental. Refrain from asking why, like why are you still there? Da, da, da. Just basically be very compassionate. Don't ask them why. Don't make them feel like they're at fault in any way. But it all depends on the person that is being abused. When they want to disclose to you, they will disclose to you. You just can't really force somebody to do it.
And you have some tools here. You can bring up the subject of domestic violence by saying, I'm worried about you because, or I'm concerned about your safety.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you are indicating here is they're wearing unusual clothing for the weather to cover up bruises, or notice that the person is wearing extra makeup, and maybe they have suddenly become unusually quiet or withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
All of these are behaviors or signs. And like you said, listen without judgment and believe the victim.
Yes, always believe the
Believe that
victim.
person.
Yes.
And examples include, I believe you. This is not your fault. You don't deserve this.
Yes.
Validate their feelings. These feelings can range from guilt, anger, hope, despair, love, fear. And just knowing how to react, because that is something that's in our DNA, that we want to help somebody, but we don't know how
Yeah.
at times in those
Mm-hmm.
situations.
And also, I just want to add that trauma affects people in different ways. So, a way that you react to a trauma might be different from the way I react or anybody else. So, you really have to err on the side of caution when it comes to these subjects. It's very difficult, but just be as light as possible, be as kind as possible when asking somebody or being the person that this person decides to disclose to.
And one of the things too is that that victim may leave and then go back to that abuser. And that, I know it gets frustrating for the person that's trying to help them, but
Mhm.
you have to realize that there's almost a brainwashing going on there, and they have to learn to love themselves. A lot of them don't have self-worth.
Yeah.
They've been victimized so bad that they don't have self-worth. So just be kind enough to just listen to them, and because you may not know how to help, but actually C.A.R.E does.
Mhm.
So I would act. They have hotlines here, and let's go
Yes.
over that.
Yes.
The hotline. What should they call, Sandra?
If they are in a domestic violence situation, definitely the hotline number. If they are safe, I just want to point out that we do have a text option in case like talking on the phone may not be discreet and your abuser is there, because you never know. So the last option there, that's our text number. We always have an advocate on the computer ready to text back, asking if you're safe, and it's just a discreet way of asking for help without your abuser finding out. And
And
then
I'm
the
going
helpline.
Right. And
Um,
I'm going to say these numbers out loud because we are on radio
mhm.
also. The hotline is here in Charlotte County is 941-624-6000. Again, hotline 941-624-6000. The helpline, are you having your pencils out, everybody? 941-637-0404. Again, the helpline, 941-637-0404. In Englewood, 941-475-6465. Again, Englewood, 941-475-6465. And to texting, especially for the younger generation, 941-499-8534. Again, that texting number is 941-499-8534. And I want to talk about your website, because in case anybody is out there and you're being abused, or you know somebody that is, if you go on your computer and go to the C.A.R.E Center for, and it's C.A.R.E, .org. That's their website. If you go to their website, it actually has a service in there that it doesn't leave, what do you call them, markers that they can track you, that your victim
It
might.
doesn't. It's not on the browser history. It erases.
It erases
Mhm.
it as soon as you go off. It doesn't put cookies. That's what it is. It doesn't cookie you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a safe website for you to go to. So if you're looking for help or any of these services, that is one place to go. Now let's talk about the sexual abuse too, because we're talking about physical abuse here or even mental abuse, but sexual abuse. What that's for sexual assault, and it can happen to men or women or children, any age and that. What is your advice to people that have been sexually abused or sexually assaulted? What would be the first thing that you do with that person?
If they want to report or whatever, go to a hospital if it's fresh. They will give you, or not fresh, if it's recent, they will give you medication to prevent any sexually transmitted diseases. They will help you as much as possible to kind of keep you safe physically. If you want to report to the police, then you have that option. If you would like to call an advocate as soon as you're in the hospital, then you have that option. Any hospital in Charlotte County that they call C.A.R.E, we have an advocate on call every night. We are on any, if it happens during the day, we have an advocate at shelter ready to respond, and we give you extra clothes. We let you know what your options are. After the assault, it's a little tricky if they want to come for counseling just to help them make sense of the world again. Because once you get sexually assaulted, your whole perspective changes. Like you don't trust anybody, and you kind of feel like everybody's out to get you, and that's something that will mess you up going to jobs, trying to raise your family, like just trying to get back to norm. So we have referrals, we have counselors here available for these victims to talk to, just to help them, you know, not get over, we'll get over what happened, but help them heal from the incident.
Great. I see here that you have elder abuse on
Yes.
here. And I know that that does happen as people get older, and that include, but you see physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, confinement,
Hmm.
um, passive neglect. As we get older, we do sometimes need help.
Hmm.
And is that what that's talking about? Caregivers' failure to provide an older
Yes.
adult with life's necessity, including food, clothing, shelter, medical care.
Yes. We
Wow.
have been talking to senior citizens at nursing homes, just to let them know to be on the lookout for certain indicators of abuse from the nursing homes, or even senior citizens being taken care of by their children or have a caretaker, because you never know. Seniors, like that population, they really don't know how to report or what their options are or what is neglect, or sometimes they might have dementia, be a bit senile. So we try to help them as much as possible by giving them the information to call us, or the information like as to what to do in that situation.
Well, and because in Charlotte County, it's such an older community, one of the oldest in the state of Florida, these are really good statistics to know.
Mhm.
How many older Americans are abused? Approximately 1 in 10 Americans age 60 plus have experienced some sort of elder abuse. Some estimates range as high as 5 million
Mhm.
elders who are abused each year. Our study estimated that only 1 in 14 cases of abuse are reported to authorities. And who are the abusers of older adults? Abusers are both women and men. In almost 60% of elder abuse and neglect incidences, the perpetrator is a family member. Two-thirds of perpetrators are adult children or spouses. And what makes an older adult vulnerable to abuse? Social isolation. And that is, there's a lot of elderly people that have no contact with other people, and mental impairments such as dementia or Alzheimer's disease are two factors. Recent studies show that nearly half of those with dementia experienced abuse or neglect, interpersonal violence also occurs at a disproportionately higher rates among adults with disabilities. And I'm thinking that part of that might be frustration on the caregiver's part, because when you're dealing with um, people with dementia or Alzheimer's, and I know the Alzheimer's gets progressively worse. And they do get sometimes violent, as a person goes through the stages of Alzheimer's. Not everybody does, but I know some of them do. Um, what do you guys see?
Well, in my time here at CARE, I haven't really seen an elder be abused. Good thing. If it does happen, um, it just happens because the elder doesn't really know what their options are, or they might have dementia, like you said, Alzheimer's, and they don't know that they are being neglected. And it just depends on the situation. I can't really say for sure why abusers abuse in that situation.
Okay, let's go on to dating violence, because you have worked with juveniles, you have worked with children, or teenagers,
Mhm.
and people going to that. What is your perspective?
All right. So the detention center that I worked at, we had both boys and girls. Obviously, they had to be separate. They could never be in a room together. Um, they were separate, but they do know each other in that community. They have dated each other. They see each other. They know when one has committed a crime, they're going right back into the detention center, and then one other one might commit a crime just so they can see them. So that's another reason why these kids like to offend. And a lot of the fights on the girls' mod, like the day room, were because of boys in the facility. Like they'd always fight over the boys. So then they'd fight each other. That's a big reason why. And a lot of them commit crimes with the boys too. And it can go the other way as well. So it's not just one sided. But it's not that good that they're dating each other because they really don't see like a normal relationship. They are very possessive. They do take drugs together. They do commit crimes together. So it's snake eats tail whenever they keep dating each other, and it's violent as well. And then it just snowballs into them being adult offenders as well. Like it's another factor into it.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really is. And because you were in the juvenile system, you were able to see that. And I wanted to bring this up from your website here about teen dating violence statistics.
Mhm.
And nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what's even crazier? I had a girl at the juvie once tell me that her boyfriend tried to shoot at her, and
Oh,
she thought that was normal. That like it surprises you like how different like it is to some people. Like
yeah,
what is normal
from
to some
from
people.
correct. And one
Yeah.
in three girls in the U.S. is a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner.
Yeah, because these girls are very young and they may not want to talk to their parents about it, or their parents might have a really messed up relationship as well. So they don't know what is normal. They don't know who to go to. They don't know who to ask. So that's why CARE, we've been trying to really push our prevention program so we can show these kids at a young age, like what is right, what is not right, and how to go about it.
And this is startling. 81% of parents believe teen dating violence is not an issue, or
Yeah.
admit that they don't know it's an issue. And with these statistics, your child is at risk going
Hmm.
on a date with a person out there.
You never
That
know.
that's crazy.
Hmm. You never
So
know. Like, and then, kids are they engage in magical thinking a lot. They romance a lot of things. They romanticize their partners too much. They really don't know what a normal, stable relationship is because they're really young.
and 50% of 14 to 24-year olds have experienced digital dating abuse.
Hmm.
Day one. From day one?
Yeah, that could be cyberbullying or having somebody ask you for inappropriate pictures online, um, and then showing their friends, or just it's mainly the cyberbullying and the exploitation online, from what that talk speaks about.
And of the 8.5% of middle school students who reported having bullied a classmate, nearly one in five have been a victim of dating abuse. I mean, these statistics are crazy,
Mhm. Yeah.
And I, as an older adult, um, I didn't know about all these abuse statistics. I really didn't. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it's that bad out there. Uh, and that worries me.
Yeah,
The
I also think the technology is what's making it even worse nowadays because when you were younger you probably didn't have like Facebook, Snapchat, anything.
We
When
didn't
I was training at the
have
juvie,
computers. We had the keyboard
yeah,
typewriters. Yeah,
when I was training at the juvie, I was told like kids nowadays have it hard because back in the day you go to school, if you get bullied it ends when you get back home. Now when you get back home it doesn't end because your phone's always ringing, your computer, your emails, like they'll find a way to get you even when you're away from the situation.
yeah, yeah. In my day, we had party lines even
Oh,
back then. Yeah, we didn't have. In fact, my husband just made a comment about that. He was talking about technology. He said it's kind of like a party line.
yeah.
On some of these groups too, it's kind of like you have a party line there that somebody can hop in and
Mhm.
talk about different things. And truthfully thought that bullying would go down because there's been so many programs about bullying and that.
Mhm.
And why do you think that bullying is such a bad problem in school shootings and things like that? It just is. If I had a child in today's world, I might really consider homeschooling.
A lot of parents are considering homeschooling nowadays just because you never know how the other kids are being raised. At the end of the day, it falls on the parents to teach their children basic manners, kindness, empathy. And if you're a parent speaking to your child in ugly ways, your child's going to speak to other people in ugly ways.
Absolutely. And when I'm looking at the students, the child there, and I know that John just did an interview with somebody at our pop up, a young girl at our pop up event for the Giving Challenge, and one of the questions he was poised to her was her mother shows up for her games or for band or whatever. She'll come to her events, but a lot of parents are a no show
Hmm.
in today's world. More so, and I shouldn't say all, but there is a big majority, more so than, when I was a child, that your parent was proud and they'd show up for your event and that. Today, there's a disconnect there with some of them.
Yes, it could be because the parent has to work more, and when you're a kid, you're a bit egocentric. You think the world revolves around you. So when your parent doesn't show up, you think it's because they don't love you, as opposed to that they have to work because they have to make ends meet. It depends on the situation as well, but kids do often feel very emotionally neglected, and they don't really understand the parental priorities like work to make money for shelter, food. So it's important to keep an open conversation with your child about these things. Just ensure they're feeling okay about the situation. And if you can't really be around all the time, set aside a day or time specifically for that child. Make them feel seen, make them feel heard, and they'll have a better understanding as to why the parent is not showing up to the game.
And that's why sometimes for those parents out there, in case somebody's listening right now, or for an older person that is looking for something to do, your big brothers, big sisters, your take stock in children, the reading programs that are out there, to get involved, to be that mentor to that child out there that may need that mentor. That actually sometimes can help break that cycle too.
Yes.
Yeah, to have that adult mentor, that adult figure in that child's life that actually gives that child a stability things, especially when you're seeing abuse or you're seeing neglect of some sort. We can make a difference. All of us can make a difference. You may make a difference in one person's life, but you did make that difference.
Hmm. It truly does take a village to raise a child too. Everybody has to play their part. The community has to play the part. Just make sure that every child feels seen, heard, and they're not, left behind in school, and that, they feel okay with themselves and okay with people around them.
So, Sandra, tell me a little bit about your background. Where are you originally from?
Well, I'm from Naples, but it's not too far from Punta Gorda.
Right. And what's your background?
I went to school at FGCU. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. So my main focus is recidivism, juvenile justice, theories of criminal behavior. So I do have knowledge. We have taken victim advocacy courses for my program, so I am familiar with it as well.
Well, and that's one of the things why I wanted our audience to hear that. In case you're just tuning in, you're listening to WKDW 97.5 FM, Real Community Radio. And we're actually coming from Real Talk with John Rawlings, but this is Marie LaBrosse. I'm filling in for him today while he's having fun. I think he really is on his way back from the Keys because he was there all last week for the
Must be
Songwriter,
nice.
yeah, Songwriter Festival. And he will be having some of those songwriters on his shows coming up. So he's scheduling some of them, and they are award-winning, Grammy-winning artists. With that being said, you're listening to us on the Bishop West Real Estate Tower, and it's coming out of Northport, Florida. And Sandra from C.A.R.E, Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies, is our
Hello.
guest today. Hello, 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 hello. Sandra, if what's the biggest message that you would like to get out to the audience and to the public? Uh, how about the Green Dot program?
The Green Dot program, it's no longer being implemented, but we do have the bystander approach. Basically, if you see something, find a way to make it look discreet, create a distraction. Like, let's say you're at a bar and you think a female might be getting abused by a male, or he's just coming at her very inappropriately. What you can do is spill your drink, let the bartender know very discreetly. Basically, don't do nothing. Like, find a way to do it with the safety of yourself and others in mind.
Right. And there's a way to do distractions. And that's one of the things with that program. It taught
Mhm.
you how to distract from the
Yeah,
situation. Yes.
like spilling a drink, just any way you see fit. It depends on the situation as well. We have more information on our CARE Facebook page, which is CARE Charlotte County, our current website, which is www.carefl.org, or our Instagram page at CARE Charlotte County.
And who takes care of all those pages?
Since our original communications coordinator has resigned, it was Amy. I'm being trained how to use the website. My supervisor and others have been updating the Facebook page and the Instagram page. So slowly but surely, it is coming together. It's just trial and error right now.
How would somebody get involved with you for volunteering? And what is
Um,
the expectations? I'm bringing it up on the screen here.
all right. If they would like, they can call the admin number, which is our main office, and I can give it to you right now if you'd like.
Yeah, go for that.
All right. So the admin number is 941-639-5499. And our volunteer coordinator, her name is Kira. So when you call, ask for Kira.
Okay, let's talk again about, and we were just talking about the Green Dot program, but it's called bystander
Mhm.
intervention. Now it's stepped up to intervene, and directly intervening is a situation example. Is everything okay here? Distract by accidentally spilling your drink,
Mhm.
delegate telling another person or authority figure, and that's where you were talking about the bartender or calling law enforcement, and it's changing. You can make a difference in a situation
Mhm.
and de-escalate something, but you don't want to put yourself in danger though.
Or the victim or potential victim in danger, because you never know if if they're dating and when they get home, the abuser might find a way to blame them and physically assault them,
Right, right.
because you never know who is crazy, to put it like that.
Right. And here is your board of directors, and I do know quite a few of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's do a shout out to them. Your board chair is Judy Harris. Hello, Judy. And oh, C.A.R.E ball. Let me tell you, if you want to go to any nonprofit fundraiser, the C.A.R.E ball, and you had the circus themed one this year,
Mhm.
I normally go to those things, but I didn't because of health reasons this year. And I understand it was over the top. It was just
Yeah.
wonderful this year. Uh, and part of Ellison Birch is your vice president.
Mhm.
Betsy McMillan is your treasurer. Marie Hicks is your secretary. Kelly Evans. Megan, how do you say her last name? Dubanch?
Do.
Okay, Katie Wallace, Shauna Ross, Bill Permel, he's the sheriff here in
Mhm.
Charlotte County, Mary Grace Laura, Misty Rains, Tony Ivankovic, and Kate Waxler.
Mhm.
And I know probably three-fourths of those people. Very, very good. And your executive director is
Karen and I, McKellen, McKelney.
Yeah,
I can never say her name right. I
let's
apologize.
tell it to Nicole, Amy. Yeah, but just to realize that not only there is so much help out there, not just with CARE, but with so many other organizations. You just have to know where to go, and depending on what you're looking for, are you partnered with other organizations out there?
Can you define partnered? We do sometimes collaborate with other
Well, you refer
organizations.
people. Yeah, you refer people.
Yes.
If
I'm not too certain what they're called, who exactly is, but our economic justice advisor, we are partnered with other places that are offering to employ people, especially or people that do have a criminal record. We do offer support groups for women in jail because a lot of times women who have offended, they have been sexually abused in the past or physically abused. So we kind of whatever the community needs, we are there to supply it for them, and we find ways to network and find people that we can refer our victims to.
Well, Sandra, it's the end of our show now, and I would like to thank you for coming on with me today. I know next time John will be back with you. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. This is Marie LaBrosse sitting in for John Rawlings today with Real Talk with John Rawlings on WKDW 97.5 FM Rural Community Radio, coming out of Northport, Florida from the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And you've been listening to Sandra from CARE, Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. Have a great day. And remember, you can make choices in life to be kind or not to be kind.
Exactly.
Just please choose kindness. It makes this world a better place,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it really does.